Cher has cut short an overseas trip to fly home to the U.S. after the death of her ex-husband, Sonny Bono. He was killed late yesterday in a skiing accident at the age of 62. And for the second time in less than a week, Hollywood and Washington are in mourning. ET's Mark Steinis was the first reporter on the scene near Lake Tahoe.
Sonny Bono was killed in a skiing accident all by himself. There was no mystery to it. He'd been skiing in a Heavenly Mountain ski resort near Lake Tahoe, South Lake Tahoe, and he was with his wife Mary and their kids. And they were going down, I think it was the Orion Hill or the Orion Pass, and one of his children had fallen, and Mary stopped to take care of the kids, and he went on. And they waited. They got down to the bottom of the hill and they waited around about a half an hour. And they didn't. They figured, oh, I don't know where he is now. And they let it go for a couple of hours actually. And finally, when the ski resort closed, they went out on a search. And it was about 5 hours after he disappeared that they found Sonny.
Between the hours of 6:30 and 7 o'clock, the body of a male skier was found. It was later identified as that of Congressman Bono.
Just days after Michael Kennedy was killed when he hit a tree while skiing in Colorado, Sonny Bono has now met the same fate.
He'd gone, it wasn't a off-limits place, but he went skied to a place that was not widely traveled, and he was looking for fresh snow and ended up where he was going full speed into a tree.
Death was instant for Bono at 2 p.m., but it was near dark last night when Bono's wife Mary reported him missing. The weather had been near perfect. The accident happened right here. This is the very pine tree where Sonny Bono met his end. It is just off the main trail on the Nevada side of the mountain, and it is quite possible that skiers passed by him for several hours before rescuers discovered his body.
We had teams of two, about 15 patrollers that were zigzagging this area. He was found about 6:55 by one of those teams of patrollers.
Ended up where he was going full speed into a tree and was killed instantly because there was no blood. He wasn't bleeding afterwards. They realized that he died instantly. But his ski poles were still in his hands, and probably his skis were released because that's what they're built to do. But these nice people who I knew from several years ago but got in touch with recently told me back then that they had these terrible, actually, artifacts. But look at this. These are the Bono skis. As best as they figured, these were Mary Bono's skis, and these are Sonny's, and it's quite obvious that they're his. They were shipped in these, and on this is a shipping tag. And if you look closely at the shipping tag, it says Sonny Bono, Sonny, Congress. So these are still, they haven't been removed from their bag since then. So we could figure that was Mary's, probably because of that. I remember reading that his ski poles were still in his hands when he died.
Investigators say there was no immediate evidence of drugs or alcohol. Meanwhile, family and friends will now have to push through their grief to prepare for Sonny's funeral. Back to you in the studio.
So it was about 5 hours before they found him again. But there's a really distinctive, our picture of Sonny, and he's standing with these skis in his hands, and you could see, I'll put it on this side because it's easier to see, but you could see the brand name here, and you could notice this insignia right here. So Sonny's boots were strapped into these, and there was either an auction or an estate sale, and incredulously Mary Bono let these things go. Solely, I guess, for the ski value, not because of the freakish, sort of unusual, collector. It's an artifact of Sonny Bono's death, actually, or life and death. So it's amazing she let them go, especially with that tag still on them. But they are here, and it's incredible to have these things right here in my hands. I mean, how nuts is that? Sonny Bono skis.
Sonny Bono was an expert skier. He had gone off the trail for a run through the woods, but just starting down when he hit this tree. Today, the coroner said death was instantaneous.
His death was caused by massive head injuries due to blunt forced trauma.
Wearing these skis with these poles in his hands. Wow. And he's buried about a mile from here. Well, so one thing to note, that after the accident, Sonny Bono wasn't wearing a helmet. And when I did a little research today, their helmets are not required if you're going skiing, which I thought was fascinating, actually, because they make people wear them for everything else. But yeah, helmets are not legally required when you go skiing anymore. So it's pretty interesting. But anyway, this is pretty cool. So cheers. Desert Memorial Park, Cathedral City, though it says Palm Springs Cemetery District. Come to see one of the residents. Not Frank Sinatra, who always has flowers. Not Suzanne Summers, who doesn't have any flowers. Going towards the back of the cemetery. To see a pop star. Pop star went and turned himself into a politician. Half staff. I believe it's still at half staff because of President Carter's death. Sometimes I do these videos when we're walking through the cemetery. I get comments from people that get so angry because you're walking on the stones, or, you know, just like, well, do you get angry at lawnmowers? I think they're okay with it. Here we are, straight to it. And the beat goes on. Sonny Bono, 1935, 1998. The mayor of Palm Springs. The proponent of the Salton Sea, which is this insane body of water that sort of happened by accident and has been left to rot. The largest inland lake in California that's been sealed off, and it has no movement, and everything's rotting inside of it. But now they found out that there's lithium in it, so now everyone's scrambling to get ownership of it. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Sonny Bono, he was the mayor of Palm Springs. He kind of cleaned up Palm Springs in the sense that they always had like a spring break thing, and it came down close to riots with people coming from LA and all over the place to have their spring break. And it became insanely, you know, like really the riot squad had to be called out. So he put an end to that too, and put Palm Springs back to its sort of sleepy destination. But the former husband of Cher, but made a name for himself here in Palm Springs, Sonny Bono. It's got a lovely resting place. Mountains. So Sonny had a restaurant on Indian Canyon, right where the Riviera Hotel is, which was for a while Jimmy Buffett's, Margaritaville, but it's coming back to the Riviera. And weirdly, Sonny Bono's restaurant's gone. They tore it down. And there's his mother, who, there's pictures of her at his funeral, which is so weird to bury your kid. It's so strange, so awful. R.I.P. Sonny Bono.
You heard me.